Welcome back, and if you're new, my name's Aiden and I'm an audio engineer. Today is drum talk. I love drums, I play drums, I do drums. So really quick, I just kind of want to give a tip that I think is overlooked quite a lot. And it's something that up until pretty recently, I've kind of not really thought about and not really put into use. And so if you're like me, who's heard about it and understood it, but have never really consistently done it, now's the time. So what am I talking about? I am talking about mixing in parallel. So I've got a drum beat that I just played on the kit over there. Standard stuff, but it is super saturated and compressed, distorted, but it has that punch, that kick in the face. So how is that done? That's done with these parallel sends right here. Parallel kick, parallel snare, and parallel toms. If I take them out, and let's listen back. Not bad, but add them back in. That just added a whole new dimension of front and back, of emotion, even minus the volume jump. I'm gonna turn up kick and snare, maybe 4 dB. Not bad, making up for that volume difference, but this is just a different beast. So before we get to the parallel stuff, let's just see how these are mixed in general. I did the toms and the cymbals separately. So all those effects are off. Let's listen. So kick in and out. Snare top and bottom. Overhead. Rooms. And the mono room. So then what I've got going on, kick in, nothing, but on the kick out, there is a gate because I was getting a bit too much of the snare bleed, and then also an SPL transient designer. I'm just trying this thing out for the first day, seeing if I like it or prefer it to Logic's stock transient designer. I can't speak terribly much to this one specifically, but still, transient designing is another big part of this discussion I want to have. Kick out specifically, I'm using it to get a bit more boom and a bit more body out of the kick drum. So let's listen to it with that. So not a huge difference straight away, but listen to it back and forth. It's bringing that out quite a bit. Then I'm treating the kick drum just as a kick drum. I have a hardware insert that is going to a 500 series chain, EQ compression, a 3-band EQ, and then a 560, the 500 series 560. About 6 decibels of gain reduction on the 560. And then on the snare top, I've got another transient designer. So I'm pushing a tiny bit of attack again, and then pulling back some of that sustain rather, sorry. Turn it off and then on. So it's doing a lot to take away that ring of the snare, and then EQ, taking out just one notch of resonance that I was having. On the snare bottom, we are doing a similar kind of thing, a gate again, because I was getting too much of the kick drum in the snare. So kind of the opposite issue that I was having. So without it, you can hear the snare buzz because of the kick beater. That kind of thing gets really, really apparent once you start to compress and saturate. So that's already coming through plenty enough in the places like the overheads or the rooms. So to kind of almost get rid of it completely, just right here, totally fine. And then treating it as just a snare drum, some EQ, taking away some low end from the kick drum and stuff like that, boosting that kind of thump in the low end, more of that resonant note, and then boosting some high-end buzz. And then I have another hardware insert. This is going to the Wes Audio NG76, which I've just done a whole video on comparing it to the Warm Audio. This, I think, won that battle, so I am still using it. Just doing kind of basic 1176 on the snare type things. You know, maybe 5 dB of compression, but it's really super quick. But then, when that's not enough to cut through the rest of the mix, we've got these parallel sends. So when you're thinking of parallel drum stuff, you're probably thinking of parallel compression, New York style compression, whatever title you know it as. This is not parallel compression. This is parallel transient shaping and parallel saturation. I do have a compressor because I am sending these to the parallel buses pre-fader, so we're not getting any compression or saturation or anything like that sending to the parallel things. And I think that's a very important part to keep in mind when you're doing this, or this kind of thing, to saturate it the most and to keep it kind of hitting differently and adding to your sound rather than just, you know, being another face in the crowd type of sound. You want to send it pre-fader, so you're not sending with the level that you have it at, and you're not sending with any of the effects. None of the compression, none of the EQ, none of the saturation, stuff like that. So if we solo this parallel kick, that's punchy. Take all the effects off of it, we're losing a lot. So I have this gate here. There is some of the snare drum in there, so I'm just taking that away because I only want to treat the kick drum. And then we are doing some light compression just to keep it under control because we are sending it to the parallel bus without any compression on it. So, you know, 4 decibels, 5 decibels. And then the real bit of sauce here, transient shaping. That's what gets it so super clicky and so super punchy. Adding all the attack that we can, taking away a bunch of sustain, and then boosting up the output gain. This is just something specific to this. Boosting the output gain here so that it triggers the limiter built into this Transient Designer Plus. And then FabFilter Saturn, just because I wanted something other than Decapitator, because I had Decapitator was already so prevalent here. I wanted a bit of a different tone. So add those. So take away the Saturn. So it's changing the tone quite a bit and molds it a bit better into something that can be fit in with the rest of the mix. But it's also shaving off a bunch of the peak value and bringing it down so we can turn this up without it messing with any of our headroom or anything like that. And then we're doing a very similar thing on the snare. Same chain, just a bit different settings. So let's listen to the snare. Sounds like our snare drum, imagine that. Gate, so we're not getting any of the kick drum and none of the ghost notes, anything like that. Compression, because we are sending this pre-fader. And then our Transient Designer. Taking away a lot of sustain, adding all the attack. And then Saturn once again. There we go. So once again, we'll listen without and then with. That's just so crazy punchy. Kind of the key to this type of thing, don't send it to your drum bus. Don't have it there. Because on my drum bus already, I have compression and saturation. I have these parallel buses sending to my instrumental bus, my music bus. So it's skipping the drum bus entirely, not getting compressed or saturated from that, messing up the fundamental mix of the drums, if you will. It's just going straight to the instrumental bus to live and breathe as they are and just add to the drums. So let's do another listen without. With. So thank you so much for watching. If you appreciate tips like these, kind of going over some pretty basic but advanced things, I suppose, then please subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this and gear reviews, all that kind of fun stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.